Deity Tehuti in Kemetic astrology. Now, today I will be talking about this deity and how they are similar to the Western zodiac Virgo. Now, I like to make note before I begin that I used and reference the Western zodiac to Kemetic astrology because this was the first, well, I wouldn't say first, but recorded personification of the movements of the heavenly bodies in the sky and the universe and how they play out here on Earth. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So Tehuti appears to us as a man with the head of an ibis, and he wears a crown full of a crescent moon. And he's always usually writing something down. He also might appear in ancient scripts as a baboon or, just purely in an animal form. But his symbols are an ibis, baboon, pen and tablet, or papyrus plant, and a full crescent moon. So his principle resides in resonance, words, sound, power, vibrations, okay? And his main function is communication. So this deity in relation to Virgo is very similar because Virgo is all about communication. Tehuti is all about communication, but in a sense of how this communication can be used and I don't want to say manipulated, but how this communication can be used in order to create the reality that they so choose or that they would like to see or envision. So this is Tehuti, and it relates to Virgo a lot in this way. So Tehuti's powers are concerned with the recordings of facts and data for a cosmic memory that, when necessary, may reveal its ancient wisdom to whoever calls for it. Tehuti's energy is said to break through mental barriers, and it allows information to become known and secrets or lost or forgotten ideas to be revealed. So Tehuti represents a figure that is all-knowing in a sense. All-knowing in a sense because they know how to crack the code. Tehuti, the energy of Tehuti knows how to crack the code, and they know how to sift through the intricacies of a matter and understand what it is. So in relation to Virgo is the same way in this aspect. They must and strive to figure everything out. They strive to understand this lost and forgotten knowledge that they like to know everything. They don't like to be confused, and they don't like to look stupid either. They like to know what's going on. So this energy is correlated in this way. So Tehuti also assists in the discovery of knowledge, but he communicates more directly with the mind in such a way as is said to ease mental confusion. He may be called upon when learning new skills and languages, especially symbol systems such as programmings or codes. As he is a patron of scholars and scribes, he is one of the patrons of divinatory activities such as libation pouring, which is an act of tapping into cosmic memory. So this is really deep. Of course, I will see it as something really deep, but so Tehuti assists in the discovery of lost knowledge, okay? Cosmic memory. Tapping into this well of information that can only be understood through this divine kind of reality, this divine coming to knowing. What's the word I'm looking for? This divine thoughts, okay? This divine memory and programming or codes. So he is a master of, like I said, figuring things out. In this way, Tehuti and Virgo, in a big way, carry the energy of sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is the puzzle to everything. Sacred geometry is the puzzle to living, the puzzle to being, the puzzle to existence. This is what sacred geometry represents, and Tehuti represents the map or guide in which to follow to be able to complete this understanding, to crack, like I said, to crack the code to get it. And Virgo has this energy all up and down and through them. So Tehuti, I will go on, was the inventor of writing and language and was therefore the patron of professionals known as scribes. Tehuti gave Medunater, the Kemetic term for hieroglyphs, to humankind. He is the interpreter and advisor of Neteru and recognized as magically powerful and only the elite, it is said, were allowed to learn and read and write these hieroglyphs of Tehuti. Okay, Tehuti is the guardian of divine order, of all rituals and all secret knowledge. So when we think about Virgo, Virgo is represented as the angel, this angelic figure, right? The virgin, purity, sacred in a sense. And they're very idealistic when it comes to what they see as perfection. And what they see as perfection is a great example of this divine order. So we know Virgos to be very picky, critical, to be very neurotic at times, because they want to keep this order. They want to keep this purity. They want to keep everything the way it is supposed to be intact. And you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. Anything short of that, it has to be dealt with immediately. So Tehuti is also the god presiding over magicians and all learning. He represents the embodiment of all scientific and literary attainments. He was in command of the House of Life, which was a revered resource center accessible only to scribes and contained a wealth of knowledge recorded on papyri, all under the protection of Tehuti. For example, medical manuals and instructional documents. So in the Hall of Judgment, Tehuti is the record keeper. He records the verdict of Asar, which I haven't gotten to yet, but Asar is pretty cool as well. That deity is pretty interesting. At the end of a person's life, their judgment on how they lived is assessed by weighing their heart against a feather of truth, which is representing Ma'at, the deity Ma'at. So Tehuti's presence is required for the weighing of the heart. It is his duty to record all souls entering the Duat, which is the underworld. So Virgo is a perfectionist, and Virgo is a perfectionist in every sense, including relationships and people that they come across and people that they live with and deal with, and even when it comes to a stranger, they're always seeing what they can do to improve these people in their lives. And this is because they want these people to pass their assessment of the heart. So basically, just like Tehuti weighs the heart of the dead, this is what Virgo does for people who are not in a sense alive to them. They're not up to their par. They're weighing and they're seeing where you're at, and if you're worthy of their attention, of their time, and of all this Virgo energy that they had to give. So that in Tehuti's sense relates to Virgo a lot. So both the ibis and the baboon are lunar symbolisms. The ibis's curved beak suggests a crescent of the moon, which is always shown in his crown. The baboon, on the other hand, is said to become agitated at dawn. Arm waving and chattering has been interpreted as a greeting to the rising sun by creatures of the moon. According to one myth, the eye of the baboon watched out for scribes who abused their power by applying it to illicit self-gain. As record keeper, he was depicted in coronation scenes as listing the names of kings and the years of their rule. As a moon god, Tehuti's responsibilities include the calendar, the measurement of time, and mathematics. When Nut was forbidden from giving birth on any day of the year, during the time when the years were still only 360 days long, it was Tehuti who intervened, and by beating the moon in a game of Senet, which is a board game similar to chess, managed to win enough light to create an additional 5 days referred to as days upon the year. On each of these days, Nut was able to produce one of her offsprings. These days were then added to the calendar and originally did not part or did not form part of any month year. That was a typo. The Greeks later referred to these as apagamino days, which are unlucky days, or the days of demons. However, we need to be careful with our value judgments of lucky or unlucky, as well as how our interpretation of demons may have changed over time. So, the skill of Tehuti's words is said to bring order to warring factions in Kemet itself. The peace of the gods is in him, but he could be merciless to enemies of truth, decapitating them and cutting out their hearts. Okay, so let's go back to Virgo. Virgo, and I see this when they talk about the ibis and the baboon, how there are two different symbolisms for Virgo. So Virgo being ruled by Mercury, there is a sort of split in most Virgo people, not all, just depending on their maturity, but there is this kind of split in Virgos. And this split comes from that mental capacity to just always be in their thoughts. And when you're in your thoughts so much for a certain amount of time, you end up becoming split in a type of way. You know, I think this, then I feel this 1 second, and then later on in the day, as the day passes, I don't think or feel that way. I think or feel like this. And you don't remember how you were thinking or feeling earlier because you feel like you feel and you think like this now. So this is that kind of split that goes on with Virgo that makes them seem kind of like there's an alter ego there inside of Virgo somewhere. You know, there's this very calm, serene, peaceful Virgo side of Virgo, and then there's this irritated Virgo. There's this Virgo that's like Tehuti, cannot be very merciless when they're crossed. And this can also be associated with the planet Vulcan that Virgo is ruled by. And this planet is said to be the warrior planet that gives Virgo this ruthless kind of nature when you cross him. When you cross him, or you just say the wrong thing at the wrong time, or when you cause that split to arise. And I see this mostly in Virgos that tend to carry their childhood into their adulthood, that tend to carry bad memories with them as they grow. So they have these kind of trigger buttons, and you know, they're the earth in them, the earth sign in them, the earth element in the sign, it just makes them like unmoving, unbudging. Yeah, cut your head off, decapitating, and you like, who the hell are you, Virgo? Crazy. Okay. So, okay, let's continue. In the midst of Asar, Aset in her room, Tehuti protected Aset during her pregnancy and healed the eye of her son Heru, which had been wounded by Asar's brother and adversary Set. He is an advocate of Heru, who he is shown on the temple walls, with him in the ritual of pouring ankhs, the signs of life. over the monarch between them. As one of the outstanding divine figures in the Kemetic Neterum, his main cult centers were found all over Kemet in Egypt, from Nubia in the south to Lower Egypt. His identification with the Greek Hermes, Trismegistos. Yeah, I had to read that before I said it. Trismegistos, which means 3 times great, appears to come from one of Tehuti's epithets found in the temple of Esna. Tehuti was worshipped throughout the country from the Old Kingdom onward. His main cult center was in Central Egypt. In the individual search for enlightenment, Tehuti is the symbol of right reason, our link to the higher self. Once we decide to pursue the divine, the struggles become a holy war against ignorance and illusion within one's awareness and being. So if the process is misunderstood, the energy of the struggle becomes misdirected or becomes directed to the world outside of oneself in the form of political, religious, social, ethnic, and gender conflicts. So that is Tehuti. Yes. So Virgo is an individual whose outer personality is one of very quiet, precise observation. They move through life with a noticeable and careful study of everything they encounter and experience. And though the intention is to sift and sort through all of this different stimuli and input so that the conscious mind encounters and categorizes, labels each and everything, person, action, event, so that greater understanding and assimilation can occur. And this is also how or the energy that Tehuti represents. So the thing that Virgo, this energy can have a tough time realizing though, is that not everything can be understood with the physical senses alone. And the individual soul of another can never be neatly or completely labeled or categorized, as it is very dynamic in an ever-changing type of thing with that person's evolvement, with that individual's evolvement. So until this energy, this Virgo Tehuti energy, can come into the awareness that life is ever changing, and that to attempt understanding the process with physical senses alone will inevitably lead to frustration. They will be stunting their own spiritual growth as well. And just as we need to rely on our higher senses, our intuition, in order to survive, and prepare for different times of the year, different times of the seasons, to know what foods to eat, to know how to live. Just as you listen to these things, you must they must, they must learn to rely on them, just those things, just as much as they rely upon their physical evidence. Actually, more attention needs to be brought onto the intangible cues than the physical evidence for these people, for this energy. So in this way, integration of the mind and physical to that of the emotions and soul can take place, leading to the higher intent of the Virgo's incarnation, which is ultimately the perfection of the soul.